Jeremy here with Cross Grain Craftsman. This channel is all about handmade items, why you should make handmade, why you should buy handmade, and a ton of how-tos. We're going to get into the world of doing stuff with your own two hands. You're going to need some basic tools. So I'm going to just give you kind of a brief overview of the essential tools to get started. So when you start watching this channel and you start learning how to make items with your hands, you'll have a small amount of tools that's going to be exactly what you need to get it going. They're not going to be that expensive. To start off with, very basic basics, but these are things that you have to have. So things like, and of course I didn't have any of this prepared, a pencil. Yeah, super handy. You're gonna mark a lot of stuff, whether it's leather, metal, plastics, but yeah, pencils. You gotta have pencils. Actually, I use a mechanical pencil a lot. I'm not sure what happened to it. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I use one of these a lot. It's got a nice, the point is always sharp. Always a small line. They're wonderful. So you're also going to need a razor knife. This one you might even already have because they're super cheap. You can get them practically anywhere at the little impulse buy sections. Replaceable blades, which is great. If you want to go more expensive, this is a great marking tool. It's got a flat edge on one side, which is actually a little more accurate when you're doing some serious woodworking. The problem that I find with this is that you have to spend a lot of time sharpening it. So I like this option because I always have a sharp blade, and to be perfectly honest, I don't feel bad when I'm marking a piece of metal with it or cutting a piece of plastic or leather or anything. So yeah, these are great. Get one. Next on the list, you are going to need a square. This is a square. This is a tri-square, but also a square. Mini square. Yes, squares are awesome. This is a square. This is a Japanese style square. Believe it or not, this is actually not. This is like 20 bucks. Somewhere around in there. It's not too bad. Great tool to have. This is a speed square. Oops, take that. This is a speed square. Speed squares are super cheap. You can get these actually in plastic for like $1. So. Well, maybe not $1, maybe a couple bucks. But anyways, you can still get a plastic one. That would suffice. The thing that I find with this type of square is it's really designed more for rough cutting, which is probably why they're so cheap, but it would still work for you. I recommend this type of square. Again, this is not that expensive. You can get them from Home Depot or Lowe's or places like that. Great thing to have in your shop. You will need them. Moving right along. Pair of pliers, needle nose. I use this on damn near every single project. I have to fully admit that these are a great tool to have. They're just darn handy. Keep them around the shop, you'll use them a lot. Hammer. I recommend this type of hammer for doing the type of craftsmanship. This type of hammer is actually going to be the best because it's got a plastic head on it, which is not going to damage most stuff. So you can actually use this for darn near anything, even metal, although it's probably not the greatest metal hammer, but you can still use it. So I would recommend, if you have no hammers whatsoever, go with this style, but you probably have one of these already. So this is really all you're going to need to get started. If you need to hit something and not leave a mark, then you can use a block of wood. So you hit the piece of wood, and then that transfers over to what you're hitting, and then it doesn't leave a mark because obviously this is wood. So hammer, square, pencil, blade, and saw. Saw. Yes, you're gonna need a saw. You can go with an electric saw. I highly recommend using a hand saw. Hand saws are great. So they don't require power. They require some skill, but you don't have to set up as many jigs. They're not loud, so you can woodwork at all hours of the night. They don't create a lot of dust. That's always a bonus in my world. Handsaws are great. This is actually a Japanese handsaw, and I'm actually going to do a video on how to use the Japanese handsaw. This is a wonderful tool, but you can get a traditional push saw as well. Those work great. Those are kind of the basic tools that you're going to need. Really, not a whole lot. Oh, I forgot one. Kind of important one. So, a straight edge of some sort. This is a level. It is a short level. I use it as a straight edge all the time. So these are great to have. I actually never really use it for a level unless I'm like helping somebody do, you know, a remodeling on their house or something. But other than that, this is pretty much a straight edge. A hand plane, yes. If you can get your hot hands on, I didn't clean that out last week. So if you can get your hands on one of these, I highly recommend it. They're a little bit pricey. When I bought this one, it was just, the market was just starting to peak on these old Stanleys on eBay, where you would buy them and then you restore them yourself. I'll probably do another video on how to restore a hand plane, and this is actually the perfect size. I mean, I use this darn thing for almost everything. Okay, so this is the most common size that a lot of people swear by. This is a number 4. This is a number 5, and you can see kind of the difference there. I love this plane. I use it for damn near everything. Yeah, I love this thing. But it was my first one. I took a lot of time restoring this. I've actually restored all of my planes. But this one right here is just kind of special to me. You see me using those hand planes a lot in my videos because I prefer to do more stuff by hand than power tools. And the reason for that is not because I like, you know, creating more work for myself, but it's more of being in touch with what you are creating. When you're in touch with what you're creating, I feel like you get a much better result. Handmade does not mean crappy quality or it has to look handmade, because it just doesn't have to look handmade. I'm sorry, but you know, your grandma's knitted sweater is kind of what people associate with handmade. And actually, you know what? Seriously, some of those are pretty darn awesome. They're just not really in style, I think, I guess, I don't know. But anyways, back to the point, which is handmade does not have to be crap. And I don't think it is crap. I think that there's kind of a bad rap to it. Shit that you buy from the dollar store that was made in China for $1, that's crap. So we're going to make good quality items. And I'm going to show you how to do that in my tutorials, how to pay attention to the details and what it really takes to make a good handcrafted item that's going to last, that you will be proud of, your kids will be proud of, and they're going to pass it down to their kids and their kids. That's what this channel is all about, is really making good quality handmade items. So that's why I use tools like the hand plane and my hand saws and stuff like that. I just feel like you really get more into the work and you're more in touch and more in tune with it. And it gives you a real sense of satisfaction. Now, that all said, I still do use power tools. There is a place for power tools. Power tools can make the jobs go faster. It doesn't always make it go faster. We'll get into using the power planer. We'll get into using the bandsaw, and routers, and Dremels. Love using the Dremel. All of my drilling with a power drill. That's just because drilling by hand is a real pain in the ass. So just saying, using a hand drill, great invention. So anyways, that's what we're all about. Those are some of the basic tools that you are going to need. Now, if you have all of those tools that I just covered, then there is another set of tools that you're going to want. Chisels. A whole set of chisels is going to be great, but we'll show you how to restore these so that they're good quality pieces. It's just the metal is not going to be as good as some of the higher end chisels that you can get. But a good set of chisels are going to be a must. This is a pair of calipers. So yeah, these are actually dividers. They are not calipers. I must have been thinking about reloading or something. I don't know. But they are used for, but most of the time for like making dovetails and stuff like that. But I use them a lot for scribing larger radiuses than a compass would do because I don't have a large compass. So I'll get into that at some point, but just know that they're actually dividers that have two pointed ends on it. This is for doing radius work. I use it for leather, I use it for plastic, I use it for metal, I use it for wood. So yeah, super handy. Not really all that expensive. I got this from Woodcraft. Can't remember how much I paid for it, or maybe I got it off of Traditional Woodworking, which no longer exists, by the way, which is very sad. I'll put down links for a couple of the other traditional woodworking sites where you can get things like this. Although you can go to Woodcraft and other woodworking stores. This Craig multi-mark tool is actually pretty darn awesome. I use it for, again, plastic, leather, wood, metal. I'll show you eventually how to use one of these. These are marking tools. This just gives you kind of a similar concept to what I was saying with the multi-mark tool, only it's to mark wood, so I can just scribe a line and it's kind of perfect and all that. But I gotta be honest with you, it's kind of a pain. A lot of woodworkers swear by them, use them. Sometimes I'll use it, but I like using the square, and I like using this. It's just how I roll, I guess. Safety equipment, respirators. Yeah, those are a must. Hearing protection. Invest in these, please. Do yourself a favor. I don't care how young you and invincible you are. Do yourself a favor. Invest in one of these. This one is the type for just big particle dust, such as sawdust and stuff like that. I always use this when I'm creating a lot of dust in the air, like with my bandsaw, especially if I'm cutting. There's a lot of woods that are potentially toxic and just really not good for your lungs, which none of them really are. But even if you're cutting lumber from Home Depot and Lowe's, even if you're cutting lumber from them, a lot of that lumber has it's chemically treated and that stuff like that, so just keep it out of your lungs. And if you ever are working with plywood, which I don't do a lot of, but if you ever are, please use one of these. This is for finishing. This is a chemical. It's got the charcoal in it. Filters out all of the chemicals when you're doing finishing type work. Now, I personally use a lot of water-based products. I use a lot of natural stuff, just because I guess I'm tree-hugging hippie or something. I don't know. I just like doing that. Get yourself masks and get yourself hearing protection. There's no excuse for protecting your ears. You can get the kind that you insert. You can get the kind that that has like this little string and hangs around your neck. Whatever you need to do. These happen to be my shooting earmuffs that I use also for woodworking and metal cutting and doing all kinds of loud stuff. Yes, get yourself a set of files, because yeah, these are freaking handy, especially when you're doing, well, for anything really, but metal and wood and that sort of thing. You can get into rasps. This is specifically for wood. This is not for metal. This one you could use for metal or wood. This is a cheap set that I got from like Lowe's or Home Depot, maybe even as a Christmas gift, I don't know. Maybe even Harbor Freight for all I know. This one's an expensive one that I got from Woodcraft. So they come in various sizes and shapes, and really you can get those on a per job basis. Like, okay, I'm doing one particular project. Yeah, I shouldn't say job, I should say project, per project basis. That's kind of how I collected most of these, is just by, okay, I needed this for doing this project, and I didn't really want to use a power tool. I wanted to do the finish by hand, and sandpaper was going to take way too long, so I invested in a few of those over time. This is called a Shinto. If you can afford to get one of these, you'll probably see me using these in some videos because they are awesome. It's like a bunch of saw blades that are stacked up, and I don't know, well, that's gonna show here, but try to get close. But you can see it's got a bunch of blades on there, and those blades It's just like sawing, and you can just, it's great for rounding a piece of wood off. This is the fine end right here, and it's got a coarse and a fine, so that way you can kind of hog off a whole bunch of material. Doesn't work real well in my hand, I guess. But anyways, so you can just round a corner, and actually you can kind of see how quickly there, I just kind of round that off. So these are kind of cool for just doing stuff like that. And again, it's just hand finishing by hand, so that way you're just in touch with your work. It's just nothing better than that. Hopefully all of you really get into that. I'm a big proponent of stuff that was made years and years ago. Like, the older the better, because you just see the craftsmanship, and really even stuff that was like factory made in the 70s. Like, it was touched by somebody's hands at some point, and the materials that were used were a much better quality. And so now we're using, you know, crappy materials, and everything's speedy, and it's done by robots, and it's all done for cost. And you know what? We can have some really good quality items that are done by hand, good. And the great thing about doing stuff by hand is that you get to pick the material. So if you want to do lower end, you can do lower end. If you want to do higher end, you can do higher end. I mean, if you want to spend $100 on a small chunk of wood and do something awesome with it, you have that choice. I mean, that is the beauty of doing stuff by hand. You'll see kind of how to use most of the stuff, but these are just kind of some of the basic tools that you're going to need, so make sure to get them. Some of the extras, not so much. Clamps. You're going to need some clamps, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's not part of the basic, you have to have it right away, like the square and the pencil and the hammer and the pair of pliers. So I definitely forgot the saw. I don't know how I did that. That was pretty lame, but yes, you also need the saw. But it kind of is that important. The thing is that they're pricey. These things are expensive. I don't even have that many of them because they're freaking expensive, but they're so freaking handy that if you can, get some. Yeah, you should really invest. And these are actually kind of low end, but I mean, I just can't tell you how handy they are. You use them all the freaking time. Alternatively, you can get yourself some C-clamps. These are actually much cheaper. But even at that, they're really not that cheap. So, but get yourself some C-clamps at the very least. What you're gonna want is things to hold down your work, because obviously you have only two hands. You are mostly going to be working by yourself. Now, you can work with other people, but generally speaking, there's going to be one guy standing around a lot. So most of the time you're going to be working by yourself, and then, you know, if you're going to have somebody else over, they're going to be working on their stuff, you're going to be working on your stuff, and you're going to have a whole lot of fun, and you're going to create a whole bunch of awesome stuff. But clamps, yeah, you're going to need some clamps. Then you're going to be ready to be like, Jeremy, show me some how freaking twos, dude, so that way I can start making some stuff. And I'm super excited about that. So I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.